Good morning. I'm going to call the meeting to reconvene. The board had been in executive session discussing legal matters, contract personnel, things that have to be discussed in the executive session. So there are no actions related to executive session that has to be taken. So the first course of business today will be to ratify approval of the board of directors minutes. We had several meetings, one November 19, another December 10, and another January 21. So Carrie, you move that the adoption of the minutes?
I do.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second.
And we do have a quorum.
We have, oh, yeah, we do have a quorum, excuse me. We actually established that.
That's right.
Okay, all in favor of the ratifying approval of the minutes, raise your hand. Okay, we have any opposed, raise your hand. Unanimous. Okay, I'm gonna make just a few remarks, not many. I want to welcome our members to the February meeting of our board. Before I go any further, I want to publicly thank two directors who retired at the end of the year. One was Ann Esposito. Ann was a director who challenged us very appropriately to rethink and improve our procedures. And it was a great experience and was a great contributor to our meetings and our processes. Secondly, Larry Mufshin retired. Larry had served on the board for 6 years and served as chairman. Larry had many accomplishments, but one of his lasting accomplishments was finding revenue sources so CSA could address our infrastructure needs. And all of you see what that's doing because you see the infrastructure work going on now in various areas. We've done it in on Sea Pines Drive, north and south, and we're down in the Lighthouse Road area. So to those two, we thank you very much for your service. We have newly elected directors. Bill Johnson, who has served 6 years on the board. Bill, raise your hand. Okay. Jennifer Erickson, who's a newcomer to the board, will help us put a set of new eyes on things we do and question things we've looked at so long and had various positions, and we always appreciate a newcomer. And then in addition to that, Tom Sharp was reelected to a second 3-year term, and Tom is the chair of our traffic task force. And you'll hear later from Tom to update us on our traffic issues. There were Class B directors elected this year. Bob Gossett, who served on the board for a number of years. Tim Stern, who was reelected to another term. And then I'm going to again welcome Dave Schottmeyer, who was elected at the end of last year to fill a vacancy on the residential property seat on the board. So to all of you who retired, thank you. To all of you who are come back on the board or newly elected to the board, I welcome you to join us in our task. Our last board meeting has been a while ago, so there are a number of reports that are going to give you new information, updated information. So please pay attention. There's a lot of information that passed out of these board meetings. In addition to listening to or viewing this, there will be bookmark time slots on YouTube that'll be sent out where various sections of the meeting, if you want to go to various sections, you can just hear those parts. At today's meeting, the board will be voting on an amendment to the gate agreement. CSA, for your information on the gate agreement, is only one party to the gate agreement. There are right now legally 2 other named parties to the gate agreement. If CSA board approves it, it will be signed by all parties to the gate agreement, and it will go into effect. And I will talk more about the gate agreement when we get to that point. Just for your information, a copy of this amendment to the gate agreement, it's a 2025 amendment to the gate agreement, will be posted on our website and in our board members for everybody to see. You don't have to request it. It's going to be put out there so you can see. Our committee has started meeting this month, and some have already met, and you'll be getting some reports from the directors of those particular sections. I do want to say something on a personal note. Since our last board meeting, we lost a long-term director, Charlie Minor, who served for 9 years on CSA and many years as vice chairman. Charlie also headed our Forest Preserve Advisory Committee and was so in love with the Forest Preserve that his family made the request that any memorial contributions would go to the Forest Preserve in Charlie's name. He was very strong and intense about his love for the Forest Preserve, and the Forest Preserve Foundation has met and going to put a plaque on a trail sign and on a bench for Charlie in the Forest Preserve. For your information, while this is not a Forest Preserve Foundation board meeting, Bill Pender has succeeded Charlie as the chair of that advisory committee. So enough for me. Let's go on and begin the meeting and get into that. Sam, you have any remarks?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to save my remarks to as my staff works through their management reports.
Okay, so we'll go through the management reports. The first is communications. Stephanie.
Hi, good morning. I
Good
hope
morning.
everyone's year is off to a good start. I'm just going to run through a few quick updates for communications. In the upcoming month, we will be sending important communications on phase 2 of the Lighthouse Lane Infrastructure Improvement Project, the RBC Heritage Tournament, and the Sea-Pine CSA annual meeting. So I do want to take this opportunity to remind the community to keep their contact information up to date. To update your email on file with us, please visit the contact update form on our website, which is available at seapinesliving.com/contact. I also want to remind our property owners of the popular shredding event that is scheduled to take place on Friday, February 21st from 10 a.m. to noon at the Sea Pines Community Center parking lot. This is a first come first served event, so we ask that everyone participating please remain in their vehicles and follow the cones and the signs to the shredding truck. More information can be found on our website at seapinesliving.com/events. If you have a rental property in Sea Pines, the print and digital materials for 2025 have been updated on the seapinesliving.com/rental webpage. This includes the 2025 brochures for the Sea Pines Trolley and the Beach Shuttle service, important wildlife safety information, as well as a new print-ready tri-fold brochure that you can include in your rental packets. I'll also be emailing this information to our rental and property management companies so they have it readily available. I so appreciate the community's ongoing engagement. 2025 is set to be an exciting year for CSA, and I look forward to communicating all of the great initiatives our departments and leadership team will be working on this year. So please be sure to stay tuned in to our community update emails and our Facebook page. You can follow us there at facebook.com/seapinesliving. That's all I have for you this morning, but please let me know if y'all have any questions.
David?
Yes, Jim.
Stephanie's doing a great job. You know, I'm chairing the communications task force. Stephanie, can you speak a little bit to the open rate of our emails? And I know I received personally some from just various circles, some very good feedback on the 2 dissertations we gave, if you will, on rental and on infrastructure. So could you talk a little bit about how much visibility we're getting on all that?
Sure, yes, thank you for the question. So we have a 76% open rate for our weekly emails, and just looking at our reporting from 2024 and Constant Contact, which is our email platform, that
and
ends up being
76% of what's the base, like 5,600?
Yeah, so I was just about to get to that point. We have 8,000 engaged contacts, so that's kind of what that equates to. So just for comparison, in 2023, we had a 70% open rate. So some of the improvements we made last year, I think, are really paying off. I think they're a little easier to read and digest. At least I hope that's what the communities are getting. We did send out 133 emails last year. So appreciate that continued uptick on our open rate. To the materials that you spoke to, our rental registration email that we sent out was an overview of the program, and some financial updates to that program had about an 80% open rate. So these initiatives, I think, were well received by the community. The community infrastructure update, we kind of did an overview, same thing, of that going from the referendum all the way through updated financials, and that one had a 78% open rate. So I think the communications task force, we had a lot of initiatives to get through last year, and I think they paid off, and some of the stats and our engagement really went up as a result.
Any other
So thank
questions?
you. And so I think it demonstrates that the source of truth about information, what's happening, that are the CSA produced emails and sites, different sites. So thank you for the work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And just to comment to one of my favorite events you have is a shredding event. So, and if you see the process now versus several years ago, you will see it's very organized, lined up, stay in your cars, do not get out of your cars. Just get in line, drive up, open your trunk, and they'll take everything from there and go. So it's very organized, and I utilize it a lot. So I'm just making known to anybody else that doesn't utilize it, it's got lots of stuff to shred. You know, go at it. It's good. Next item is going to be our community infrastructure. Russell, turn it over to you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Fine.
Can you hear me okay? And I
Yes.
just have a few slides to share this morning to provide a brief update on our ongoing capital projects program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Can you see that, sir?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good morning, and just want to take you through a few slides here this morning, and just provide a few quick updates on our capital projects. As we all know, we've been working in Harbortown on Lighthouse Lane and phase 1, which started at Lighthouse Road to Mizumas Lane. We recently completed that work, and we're also obviously working down South Sea Pines Drive. Regarding the South Sea Pines Drive work, major stormwater upgrades and replacement and repairs have been completed. We're in the final phase of work down there, segueing into milling and paving operations. The paving operations, unfortunately, were pushed back this week due to weather, but we are on schedule for next week. And I really appreciate the patience and understanding of the property owners, specifically in that area, as we've had the construction ongoing since September, and we're efforting to wrap this up as quickly as we can. Just sharing a few slides here again this morning of the ongoing work, both the hardscape installation and the drainage work. We did slip line a significant pipe there. You can see in the center photo underneath South Sea Pines Drive. And then again, we're segueing into the asphalt and roadway repair work as we progress through the next few days. Segueing into Lighthouse Lane, again, phase 1, we wrapped up the major construction there, including the installation of crosswalks, sidewalks, and again, the paving operations that were completed. Again, thank you to the property owners in that area for their cooperation and patience during the course of work. And I'm also going to speak about this morning that we're segueing into phase 2, as Stephanie mentioned here in the beginning of May. Phase 2 is going to include crossing the 18th fairway of the Harbortown Golf Course, Harbortown Links, and then also paralleling the golf course and along that a small stretch of Lighthouse Lane in proximity to Harbortown Green villas. And then from there, we segue into phase 3 of Lighthouse Lane work, which will start in the fall, September, and go through the February of 2026. Again, this is similar to the last phase of work that we undertook, with substantial drainage improvements, roadway work, and curbing work, sidewalk work. So part of this project is going to replacing all that failed drainage within the roadway, which is the critical piece. we do need further cooperation of all the property owners down there, as the roadway does get pretty narrow. So we have a parking plan that we're gonna send out to the owners that are gonna be affected in there as we get underway with construction in the fall. Phase 4 of Lighthouse Lane is substantial drainage work in Windjammer Court, and also the resurfacing of those roads of Windjammer, Mizumas Court, Mizumas Lane, and Genoa. Again, that's a later phase of work in 2026 that is planned at this time. Moving forward towards Otter Road and Fawn Lane, this project is scheduled for this fall to start in September. Again, major drainage work is going to be executed on those roads in the Otter Road neighborhood, as well as the resurfacing and repaving of those roadways in there. Again, that work will segue into the spring of 2026. Planned, and you might property owners might have seen the survey crews on Greenwood Drive. From Plantation Drive to Greenwood and Sea Pines. We've executed the survey work and wrapping up that for potential future upgrades and infrastructure upgrades to the Greenwood Drive corridor, as a lot of that drainage is also in need of replacement, and the roads resurfaced. Along with that, there's a portion of the leisure trail that's considered as part of that project. Also, in the planning phase is the Ivy Road and Club Course Leisure Trail. We have received some questions on this, and we are still working through the permitting of that project, but it is on our radar and on our schedule as soon as the first opportunity presents itself. Those are my slides for this morning, Mr. Chairman. Glad to take any questions.
I'd like to make a comment if I may.
Go ahead, Bill.
I drove down to South Sea Pines Drive over the weekend, and if you haven't been down there lately, the transformation is incredible, and I would encourage all to go look at this. I thank our staff, our crews for all their work, hard work on getting this improvement, much needed improvement to the level it's at currently. Thank you.
Steve, you had your hand up? You're on mute, Steve.
Sorry about that. Russell, just in talking about the phase 1 of the Lighthouse Lane project, it looks great. And it's really, I know it was difficult work there with the traffic that was coming through and the replacing all the underground pipes and all that had to be done, but it really came out great. And I know you're going right into phase 2 later this spring, but in the meantime, we've got a lot of events that are going to be happening in Harbortown, and especially the RBC Heritage coming up soon. And there's a couple of staging areas that you all were using. I just want to make sure that anything we can do to clean those up and make them safe for all the thousands of people that are going to be walking around, and that they look good as well. So just encourage you to take a look at those staging areas that you have there.
Yes, sir. We will work to clean those areas up.
Thank you. Looks great.
Anyone else before we leave? Well, thank you, Russell.
I want to make just
You
a couple comments. I want to really thank Russell and Stephanie for the way they worked hand in glove, communicating these projects, not just to the entire community, but more directly to the affected property owners. They go out of their way to make sure that the property owners that are going to be impacted know exactly what's going on. But Russell speaks to property owners regularly and daily in person, and I think it goes a long way for the level of satisfaction the property owners that are being impacted have as they understand what's going on, what the timing of the projects turn out to be. And Russell, I appreciate that. Received a lot of positive communication and feedback from the community in the areas that are impacted in South Beach and Harbortown by those efforts. I just want to thank y'all for that. Also want to point out that on the phase 2 of the work that's going to happen in the Harbortown area, This is a little unusual for us. Normally, we don't work during the busy season, but there's sort of a unique set of circumstances are coming together. The Harbortown Golf Links is going to be going under some major renovations. And as I understand it, Steve, as we discussed, they're going to be closing after the Heritage. So the timing for us is really perfect to take advantage of that. And we have a very limited window. So unfortunately, there will be from after the Heritage through mid-June, work going on in areas normally we wouldn't work. But this is the only time we can get that work done while the golf course is closed. And we just got to make it happen. So we're going to do our best to, as Russell has done so well in South Beach and Harbortown previously, manage traffic, manage expectations, and work with the neighborhoods. But this will be a little bit of a change for us. Not something we like to do, but we just have to do it based on what needs to be done. And then finally, Russell and I have been meeting with the town of Hilton Head as it relates to beach renourishment, and we'll be having more of those meetings coming up. We're working with the town to make sure that their staging and equipment and the things they need to do on the Sea Pines end of the beach renourishment go well and go smoothly. And we'll have more report back to the board in that sometime in March.
Okay. Anyone have any questions, comments? Okay, we'll move to the next item, which is community maintenance. Jared?
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
We're all doing good, but I wish we were doing as good as you are.
I'm doing better than I deserve, right? Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, I just want to take y'all through a few photos of some of the work we've been doing in the last few months. All right. Here you can see CSA staff members adding dirt along the side of the road where pavement ends to create a smooth transition and help prevent erosion. We do this to prevent water from running off the road and eroding the edges, creating a more stable and visually appearing transition. This is something you'll see us doing throughout the winter months to try to get prepared for the busy season. In this photo, you can see a CSA contractor removing invasive vegetation that is hindering access to a CSA drainage ditch. Gaining and maintaining access to proper storm channels is critical for managing stormwater runoff. And this allows us a faster reaction time in the event of a heavy rainfall, and we need to access these areas. This is actually in Lot 8 area, in case anyone was curious where this work's going on. We're also doing a section in Greenwood Forest area. So over the winter, CSA planted 8 7-inch caliper live oak trees in select locations throughout the community. This photo is an example of one being placed at the Ocean Gate. And these live oaks were actually hand-picked from nursery to suit the needs for sea pines. We want to make sure we were getting nice looking trees that weren't deformed or anything like that. I did want to mention this is an extension of the CSA tree care program, which includes regular tree maintenance, but also tree planting initiatives to ensure beautiful, healthy trees for generations to come. As like anything, and us included, things start to age out and decline. And we just want to make sure as the older trees start declining that we have newer trees kind of taking their place. I did want to mention, since I was speaking about the Ocean Gate, if you look on the outbound side of Ocean Gate down the South Forest Beach side, you'll notice we have added some additional vegetation to the existing beds to fill in areas of decline. We also removed pine straw and added some sod to help dress the entrance and ensure a formal entrance so residents and guests know they are approaching sea pines. This photo on the left was a before photo, and the photo on the right is an after photo. It's a little hard to tell because the area was so large, but you can see the sod was installed in here. It's funny, this was actually put in one day before Enzo came in. So I was a little nervous that the weather was going to affect it, but it seems like everything's bouncing back okay. The sod is a little bit brown. It's not that it's dead, it's just dormant this time of year. And we anticipate it being bright, lush, and green in the early spring. So this is a photo of a small project that was completed by our landscape contractor, Brightview. Just want to give an example of some small changes we'll be making moving forward to ensure we bring as much beauty to our community as possible. This is just an area that was, I guess, grass and weeds have kind of encroached underneath these trees, and this gave us an opportunity to make a bed and put some pine straw down, just kind of formalize small focal areas throughout the community. Kind of moving on to a few more CSA maintenance operations. The the next two slides are examples of some proactive work our sign shop completes. I really do need to give kudos to these hardworking folks. As you'll see later in the presentation, they're responsible for over half of the work orders completed by CSA maintenance. And I will say to many people, a street sign is just a street sign, but to us, it's the small details that make Sea Pine such a beautiful place. Simple things like replacing and updating signs and painting mailbox posts are subtle things, but they can go a long way. Here's an example of Oren Dunn. He's our sign shop supervisor, just proactively painting a mailbox cluster in the canvasback area. So things were going nice and smooth. We were getting a lot of work done. And then our friend Enzo decided to bring some snow to us. I never thought I would see winter snow warnings and snow forecasted underneath the title of Hilton Head, but this is kind of a funny screenshot I took of the weather app on my phone. So I will say we didn't really know the extent of what Enzo was going to bring. We did decide to spread some sand at major intersections and gatehouses as this would help traction of vehicles. Unfortunately, we didn't realize it would rain, wash some of the sand away, and then freeze and create a layer of ice. So this photo on the left here is actually on Greenwood Drive looking down Plantation Drive. And the photo on the right is North Sea Pines Drive. I thought it was kind of amazing to see our roads look this way and have a little bit of snow accumulation. These were early morning hours of the storm, but just wanted to share these with everyone. These are some of the things that we were seeing. Let's see what this next slide is. Here's a few other photos of our staff as well. We actually had 13 staff members stay on site during the duration of the weather event. Staff members worked around the clock. As you could see, this was, I believe, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. They were out kind of dressing up these areas and doing what we could to ensure safety throughout the community. Here's a few more photos of some additional work throughout the community. We did have about 1.5 pounds of some ice melt that we bought years ago and figured we'd rather have it than not have it, and I'm glad we did. We were able to put a little bit down at the gates to ensure vehicles didn't lose traction near the gatehouses. And then on the photo on the right, you can see our front end loader doing what we can to push on the snow and move it around. I did want to mention, if you need a snow shovel in South Carolina, you might want to get one on Amazon now, because you can't just go to the store and pick them up. You see our staff's here just doing what they can with the shovels we had. I mean, it worked. It just wasn't as efficient as a northern snow shovel. But anyway, just figured these were a couple fun photos to share of the snow. And I have some pictures of our staff members with snowball fights and making snow angels, but I figured I'd share those another time. So as Enzo wrapped up, CSA management was working in the background to secure a new grinder for the CSA debris recycling program. Pictured here is our current machine, which is a 2015, and has been critical to our operations, but unfortunately was nearing the end of its useful life. I've posted a few of the specs here on the left of our current machine, and I'll share a few specs of our new machine on the next coming slides. I will say, while we were doing our research, just due to the type of material we process and the safety precautions, we determined it would be best to consider a horizontal grinder as opposed to the current tub style grinder. While tub grinders are great, they're just more suited to handle larger material like tree stumps and pallets and root balls, which we really don't deal with a whole lot. Horizontal grinders are more suited to handle long, consistent materials like tree limbs, tree branches, and palm fronds, which is probably 95% of what we grind. Just some quick information. Tub grinders use a rotating tub that's gravity fed, and horizontal grinders have a conveyor belt to feed material into the grinding mill. Also, horizontal grinders are often considered safer due to their design and controlled feeding mechanism, enclosed hammer mill, and these significantly reduce the risk of material being thrown out at high speeds, which would limit the hazard zone and minimize potential hazard of flying debris. As you can see in this photo here, this is why we were actively grinding with our old machine, and you can just see how much debris is flying out. So here is a photo of our new machine. We completed extensive research and field visits to select the appropriate machine best suited for our operations. As you can see from the specs listed on the left, this machine is slightly larger and more powerful, and we feel this will be a useful tool for our daily operations, but will also ensure that we're able to process material in the event of a natural disaster. This machine was actually delivered last week, and our staff spent 3 days tuning the machine and receiving training from factory representatives to ensure we're comfortable with the operation of it. I did want to say thank you to Sam, Victoria, and the CSA board for their support during this process. This was a large purchase, and so far we're very, very happy, and our staff has actually been extremely happy with the new machine and the new style. Just real quick, wanted to give a year-end recap of some of our maintenance work orders. We've done approximately 2,300 work orders in 2024. As I mentioned earlier, about 51% of them were sign shop related. 28% were grounds related, mulch, landscaping, and debris removal. Around 11% were facilities related, 8% drainage related, and about 2% were asphalt related. Again, I did want to make note that the 8% drainage related was significantly reduced from the years prior. A lot of the North Sea Pines Drive and T Street areas, we were having significant issues, which were also since corrected. So I do need to thank him again for that because he has made my job a lot easier. I did want to run through a few objectives we'll be working on early this year. We plan to do some bank stabilization in select areas, especially the live oak area. This will ensure we do not have any excessive erosion that could encroach into the roadside. Some of those lagoon banks there are getting a little bit closer to the road than we would like. But these next two slides are examples of bank stabilization and what the work will look like. So they actually use like a somewhat tarp material that you'll see they kind of drape up and then they fill it underneath with sand or sediment or sand or soil. The photo on the right is the exact same area. It's just a completed photo. And as you can see, it looks a lot more aesthetically pleasing than riprap or just leaving the bank natural how it is. Again, here's a few more photos of how this is done and the process we use to do this. We try to get our lagoons on a 3-to-1 slope to ensure that they have the proper slope so they're not eroding and they're also maintainable. Just letting y'all know that is coming down the pipeline. Some of you may have seen these photos already. Well, the next two slides you may have seen. I'll get to those shortly. So this spring, we'll also be working in the Harbor Town area doing some lagoon dredging. We're going to be removing organic sediment, which is a combination of soil erosion, animal waste, and organic debris that has built up over the years. This is important for stormwater maintenance as it'll allow the capacity of our lagoons to be increased, but also will allow water to traverse and drain throughout the lagoons in a more efficient manner. So this is a lagoon that we did in the Greenwood Lane area. This is how the work was completed. So this is a before photo. If you could see over in this corner, there's a pipe end here and a pipe end here. So the water actually had to go around this. This is all soil and sediment buildup. So the water actually had to go around it to get out to the other pipe to drain. And then this is an after photo. And again, the method we're using, we're not going to have to dewater the lagoons. We're going to go in and kind of remove some of the sediment with the water in there like that. And I will say this tremendously helped the drainage as well. Before where it would take a couple days for things to drain, things in this area were draining within like a tide cycle. So we're excited to make sure that we can get some of these things draining correctly. I also did want to make mention some Greenwood Drive screening. We'll be installing some vegetation on Greenwood Drive in select areas to create a green screen to some of the neighboring properties. Our contractor's already been given the approval. We're just waiting on scheduling and believe it'll commence in the next few weeks. This is the guardhouse on Greenwood Drive. So we're going to be putting in some vegetation across some club course area. There's a few openings to the parking lot Harris Teeter we're going to be filling. We actually had a tree fall in this area right here during one of the storms, so we're going to be replanting that. Then we're going to be putting a little bit of vegetation up here near the office park entrance as well. So that is what I had for maintenance. I'm going to do a quick slide on community standards and I'll answer any questions after. So for all of 2024, we had approximately 2,700 violations. Some of the larger categories. 32% were landscaping related, about 15% were maintenance related, around 18% were just unsightly items, and around 9% were rubbish and debris. I did want to show this quick graph as well. Around 90, almost 97% of violations were addressed within the initial courtesy notice, which I think is huge. You know, again, we're offering a courtesy to people. Hey, we noticed these things while we were doing inspection. So most people, as you can see, were receptive and responsive and did handle those within the 10 days allotted, or at least reached out and worked with us to get that extended. So that is the extent of what I have. I am happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Okay, thank you. We have a hand up, Bob Gossett.
Bob?
No, my hand, let me lower hand. Let me try that. Did that work?
Yes,
Your hands
Okay,
down.
sorry. I apologize.
okay. Yeah, Steve?
I just wanted to thank Jared and the maintenance team for all they did during the winter storm. We had some difficult situations out there and tough environment. It was great that so many guys would stay behind for multiple days to try to help keep Sea Pines running and keep our streets operating, even though it was tough conditions. So thank you, Jared, and your team.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. We definitely have some dedicated folks in maintenance, and I'll be sure to pass the gratitude along to them. Thank you.
It's particularly difficult to have the equipment necessary when you only get this kind of event happen once every great number of years.
Yep.
So did I notice a log being dragged behind one of your pieces of equipment to try to clear the road?
You did. So actually, the loader we have, it has a bucket that opens up, and we didn't want to scrape metal across the asphalt. That would obviously cause more damage than it would do good. So we actually clamped a log in the bucket, and we're using that to push the snow out of the way. It was kind of funny. I felt like we were working within a window because it would get above 32 degrees for 4 or 5 hours. We were trying to rush to push what we could off the road. And then the next night it would drop and freeze again. But the less snow that was on the road, the quicker it would melt. So we actually started out with tires originally, and they worked okay, but the log definitely worked a lot better.
Well, I thought that was ingenious to do that.
Yep.
But we thank you for that. Anyone else have any questions, comments?
Just a couple of
Go
points.
ahead.
I appreciate the update on the storm, Jared, and just so the board and the community knows, you know, we started a number of years ago when we have summer storm events, tropical storms, hurricanes, things of that nature, with Jared's team staying over on property. And that's worked really well for us. And they did that for this storm. And so having the men and women willing to stay on site as opposed to go home and be in their warm beds or air conditioned beds during key storm periods really speaks well to our employees. And I just want to thank them for that. It's not something we force them to do. It is something that we offer and they volunteer, and it's worked out very, very well. And it speaks so highly to the men and women that work in the maintenance division. And we do the same thing in security as well. So I just want to point that out to the community that the employees at CSA really value this community enough to spend their nights here during severe and inclement weather to make sure the community functions and operates in the way it should. And I absolutely appreciate them that, and I want the board and the community to know that. Also, as it relates to the grinder, that really is one of CSA's largest capital purchases. And I appreciate the time and energy that Jared and his team put into making that selection. I think that piece of equipment will last the community a very, very long time. And I think we're going to get probably a better product out of the materials that we make with that piece of equipment. So I'm excited to see what that happens. And should we have a severe storm event again, that piece of equipment will come in very, very handy. So Jared, congratulations on that. And then the last piece is Jared talked at the very beginning about tree replacement. The community's gonna see some trees coming down here in the future that are very large trees that have reached the end of their useful life, and our arborists and And our team is determined that for safety reasons, they need to come down. And we'll be taking those down, but Jared has done a fantastic job of finding large selections for replacement. And in some cases, we were able to establish those replacement the year before the tree comes down, so that there's not a gaping hole once that tree comes down. And Jared's done that on his own initiative, and I appreciate him taking that initiative to do that. It's never pleasant. We lose a tree that we all enjoy looking at, but having something there immediately to fill its space that has some mass, knowing it's going to be around for a lot longer than all of us is a bit comforting. So Jared, I appreciate you taking the initiative on that as well.
Of course, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, then we'll move on to finance and administration. Victoria?
Thank you. I don't have this great presentations like you all just saw, so I'm going to keep this really brief. This is actually for finance. This is our busiest time of year. We have a year-end close at December 31st. As you know, we fill out assessments that are due in January. We have audits coming. We're under audit. The auditors will be on site the second week in March, I believe. So hopefully we'll have the books closed and the audit will go smoothly. I don't anticipate any problems. And wanted to say thank you to all the property owners that have remitted their 2025 assessments on time. I checked it this morning and we are 94% collected for 2025, which is really phenomenal. So thank you to everyone. As far as the collections on the rental registration, we were having some issues last year with collection. So as you all instructed me, as of January 31st, we suspended passes for those property owners that were renting their property that had not remitted their payment. Again, I checked this morning, we started out with almost 90 delinquent. I checked this morning, we are now down to 39. So that's in 18 days, we were able to collect that. So it seems that suspension of the passes is very, very effective. And thank you for all, I thank the CSA staff because I know these people call because they're not very happy that they cannot call in a pass for their guests. So thank you to them. And finally, yes, our staff is very busy answering questions from property owners about assessments, about rental registration, about anything new. So thank you to everyone for your patience and we appreciate you. Thank you.
We thank you. Any questions, comments? Sam, you want to add anything?
Just appreciate the work that Victoria and her team do. As she said, this part of the year is the busiest, and it will be that way up and through the Heritage Golf Tournament because her team has the responsibility of providing the thousands and thousands of passes and working with the golf course, the tournament, and to get folks in and out of the closed areas during the time of the tournament. So they don't get a real breather until after the tournament. So appreciate all they do.
And just to add, in the years I've been on here listening to it, my perception is this 94% collection of assessments, and by this time, is extremely higher than previous years that I've been associated with.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully that's an indication of something positive. Well, thank you. Tom?
Yes, just a quick question, Victoria. How many short-term rental permits do we have? You mentioned the 39 delinquent. I'm just curious how.
It's always a moving number, but it's approximately 2,100 rental properties.
Oh, that's huge. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, operations and special projects, David Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. Just have a few quick Forest Preserve updates for you. The Forest Preserve Foundation did receive accommodations tax or ATAX grant for 2024. Those signs, the installation of those signs is anticipated no later than early summer. We think this will be a great addition to our interpretive materials in the Forest Preserve. We had hoped hope to produce at least 20 signs. These are 18-inch by 24-inch signs in color. And thankfully, we were able to realize some efficiencies and will be installing 24 signs that will be located throughout the forest preserve, sharing information about our native flora and fauna, as well as some history out there for everyone to enjoy. We're getting into the beginning of the traditional prescribed burning season in South Carolina, so keep an eye out for Stephanie and her community communication channels as we go forward over the next some months with the prescribed burning program, which is a important component of the overall land management program out in the forest preserve. We have another bird walk coming up a week from Friday, the 28th of February. These sell out very quickly. There is no fee, but you have to go through Eventbrite to get your ticket. So if it's something that you are interested in, keep an eye out for this week's community email, in which there will be a link to the Eventbrite site. Those have been very, very well received. We do appreciate Bob Spear and Mary Ellen and Jack Coleman for graciously hosting these events in the Forest Preserve. Very, very well received. And then lastly, I'd like to end with just a save the date. Our spring fundraiser, the Party in the Pines, is coming up on Saturday, April 5th. Keep an eye out as well for that. Tickets will be going on sale in early March. We wanted to thank again the Salty Dog for their participation in this event. Their standard is to make each following event even better than the previous. So they really do set the bar high, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to provide and what we will be able to offer at that event. But Saturday, April 5th, Party in the Pines, save the date. That's all I have at this point. If anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you, David. Questions, comments? Anyone? Okay, then we'll move on to safety, security, and transportation. Joe?
Morning. Hope everyone's doing well today. I'm going to go over just a few things this morning. I'm going to start out with the gates for January 2025. On our vehicle count, these are all vehicles that come into Sea Pines. We had over 216,000 vehicles in the month of January. And I went ahead and broke those down into the different gates or the different lanes, and a full 62% of our traffic that comes into Sea Pines is through the property owner's lane. It's a pretty big number. And then 21% of all that traffic comes through the Ocean Gate, and then 17% goes through the pass lane, the pay lane. Calls for service. This month in January, or the month of January, had a total of 256 calls for service. We had 263 last year in January, so it's almost identical calls for service. I broke those down into our the primary calls are what we mostly go on, and the top 5 of those are activated alarms, PO and guest concerns, gate runners, vehicle assistance of varying types, 911 hangups. Those account for almost 50% of security's calls for service. In traffic this month, our numbers were not where I wanted them to be in terms of citations and warnings, but the primary, I think, factor in that was the storm. We had a full, week of where we had bigger concerns than traffic enforcement. We were helping a lot of people out. We had a lot of vehicle jump starts and things like that to deal with. So that was, the storm really kind of hampered us when it came to that. Our motor vehicle accidents were the same as last year. We had 5 in the month of January compared to last year, the same amount. And then on to the little bit about the trolleys. For those of you that aren't aware, our beach or our yellow route begins Saturday, March 22nd. And then our trolley schedule is out for 2025. There's no changes to the routes or anything. They are set to begin May 17th and ends at September 1st. And we have that obviously displayed on our website. We also have plenty of pretty pamphlets made up here at the CSA office if anybody, needs those or wants to understand what those routes are and where they go. A few brief things. My favorite time of year, Heritage coming up. I already started, we started discussions last month already with the Heritage folks and some of the local law enforcement folks that I deal with in preparation for the security. Next month, I've already extended invitations out to all the primary law enforcement agencies that assist during the Heritage, which is quite a few. We've sent that out on my security plan for the Heritage for 2025. We're going to have that meeting next month to have them all in and discuss the usual security issues that we have, and also we'll have my law enforcement plan in a booklet that we issue out to just law enforcement only, so that everybody's aware of what's going on for 2025. This year, the Heritage runs Easter week, April 14th through April 20th, which means we end up having our Sunday finish of the Heritage on Easter Sunday. It's going to be a signature event again this year, which is good for the golf fans and everybody. So that puts the number between 72 and 80 participants. That's a no-cut event. I know the Heritage has some big plans for beefing up some grandstands and making it a little better experience, especially around 17 and 18. But that will continue to be a big part of what I do for the coming months. But we look forward to that and working with the Heritage Group and all the law enforcement agencies that we really reach out to help us make that tournament go off without a hitch and make sure it's safe for everyone. And I'll finish up by saying what everybody else has. We had a big job to do during the storm. Everybody's already mentioned, as Sam has and Jared has. We appreciate the fact that they'll put our employees up in anticipation of these things, and they do stay. We had some stay. We also had a few that didn't. It was constantly, since it was an overnight storm, no one was really sure how bad it would be or wouldn't be. We did have some brave employees make the trek into work, believe it or not, that day. And they came in and really braved some elements to come in to make sure we could provide security for everyone here and the job that needed to be done. So a big shout out to them and what they've done. We had some issues with some of the vehicles. Some of the vehicles are trucks, but they're two-wheel drives. They weren't very effective. But as I continue to replace vehicles, that's not going to be an issue. All the vehicles I've so far purchased last year and the ones that we'll be purchasing this year will be either all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive and a mixed combination of trucks and SUVs. So that shouldn't be an issue if we ever get another one of those storms, which I hope we don't while I'm here. But anyway, that's all I have. If anybody's got any questions, feel free I'll field them.
Yeah, one of the most frequent comments I get is about the enforcement of e-bikes. Can you give us a report on how the enforcement's going, what you're doing? Any details on the number of times you've stopped e-bikers or done whatever?
We continue to obviously get calls on e-bikes. What we've done and we've completed all the signage along the beach walks. We are going to, I've talked with Jared. We have more of those signs. We've maybe even order some more, but what our plan is to do now is to go into strategic areas on some of the bike trails and place those same signs. So when people come into areas where they come, the ones off the beach, you'd already see them, but there's some that come in off the boats. There's some that come in here and there and everywhere. And we're going to start to place some of those signs, no e-bikes, areas of the bike trail. So that way, when people come across them, if they haven't seen them somewhere else or they haven't got the word yet, they'll run across them. And we're going to try to get the most bang for our buck where we place those signs. There's 17 miles of, bike trails. So, but we're going to work on that. Hopefully that'll help. I think that, David, I think our compliance is helping. It's working. I think that the word's getting out. Now, we still do have e-bikes, don't get me wrong, and we're going to have e-bikes. They're getting so difficult to identify. They are just making all different kinds, and it's very difficult to identify e-bikes. But I would say that between our signage that we put it at the front gates, we put it on the beach walk areas where a lot of them come from. But I've said this before, and it continues to be the case. Now we do, of course, have the property owners that continue to come in that have medical exemptions that provide that, and we give them decals for their e-bikes so they're not harassed by security or other property owners as they ride them. But I think that every time, and I talk with our officers when they've encountered or gone on these e-bike calls, and we get full 100% compliance. Now, the thing that I think I am going to start to crack down on now that the signage is up on these beach walks, we have to, do a process where we try to figure out where are you coming from? Where'd you come from? Did you bring it in on your car, or is it at your place? Did you somehow get it through the front? Did you come off the beach? And if they're coming across places where there's clear signage, we might start to, crack down on that a little bit more as far as, potential trespassing. But we continue to try to, most of them that we encounter, people just don't realize it. We got a lot of, I don't want to say elderly because I'm going to be 62 in June. So I'm one of them. We never think that way, do we? But anyway, and they come across and they're just innocently driving and said, "Oh, we're sorry. We didn't know, we didn't realize it." But we get full compliance. We don't catch any real flack from people. Tom,
you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. Just out of curiosity, and thank you, Joe, for that. Have we had any accidents or incidents? How common is that with e-bikes versus normal bikes?
It's not common. Believe it or not, we just had one, I think 2 days ago. It's the first one I've seen in can't tell you how long. It actually was an e-bike that there was a vehicle already into at a stop sign, and the e-bike, believe it or not, is an e-bike was given his property owner that had a medical exemption sticker on it, but kind of went through the stop sign and actually hit the car. The car didn't hit it hit the car, and everybody was okay. Nobody was injured or any such thing, but that kind of thing, Tom, would have happened if it was a bicycle or an e-bike. It's just they didn't stop at their trailed stop sign that shows stop. And I know you all, because I've seen it. People, sometimes you're coming down the road and you're praying these bikes are gonna stop at these signs. So, but that was the only one that we've had, and it wasn't an issue of speed or anything like that. It was just
Thank you.
Pay attention to the stop sign. Sure. Yep.
I don't know if this is reported or not, but I was told of one about someone who was involved in one that an e-bike ran into them when they were riding a bike. And banged them up pretty bad.
Well, there was one that we've heard, but I think that was one where sometimes people are completely, we'll get a report. And I think that was the case there too. Sometimes people are like, they're gone. It's not at the scene. In other words, they'll say, well, this is what happened. Well, they're not there anymore. They left or they went, and there's nothing to report except what they said. I think that was one of the cases we had. I think you're referring to. I do recall that, but we never reported because, report what they say, and that's all our officers can do. But if everyone's left and everyone's gone from the scene, it's difficult for us to do any, look into it at all.
Well, that's still a very frequent comment I get from people, the number of e-bikes they see. So, just keep addressing that and see if we can come up with something, because it is an issue out there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bill Johnson, you guys hand up.
Dave,
Leanne.
Hi,
Bill, that's it.
Leanne and Bill.
Joe, quick question. I really commend you for getting the signage on the bike paths. Can you give us any idea of what the anticipation install on those signs are, and how many will we be able to get up on the bike paths? Thank you.
Well, yeah, in fact, yesterday we had a staff meeting, and after the staff meeting, Jared and I did speak about this. And it's really going to be, it's more of an issue with getting with maintenance and fitting into their schedule of all the things they already do and trying to get these signs up. And what we want to do is the start was going to be, we were going to go out and kind of start look at some of the most effective areas where we can get them up quicker. That would be most of the traffic on some of these trails, and then work our way down to, less and less. But it's something we discussed yesterday. It's something we're going to get started on, I think, right away, at least assessing and seeing where we need to put these signs. And it'll be a process, but we can get them up. We can start getting them up soon because we have some in hand right now. We can put the ones that we have, the extras that we had, I think that Jared had purchased for the beach, that we have some we can get up. I think we could get up within the next month or so.
Leanne, you had a question?
yeah, I just, what is your sense of the expansion, not just e-bikes, but scooters, hoverboards? Because with the upcoming spring breaks and vacation times coming up, I tend to see more and more of the younger crew with these scooters, hoverboards. And if we're just addressing e-bikes, I'm not sure that we're being all inclusive. So how do you plan to attack that?
Well, we have, the primary thing with the e-bikes, because e-bikes, and we do have scooters and we have hoverboards and we got that, but the e-bikes are by far and away the biggest issue. And even compared to most of the scooters, yes, they do certain speeds, but the biggest concern, I think, from a safety standpoint is the e-bikes, especially some of them, can travel at pretty good speeds. So that's why the emphasis has been on e-bikes. That's by far and away the biggest number that we have. Now, obviously, our signage that we have, as far as especially at the front gates and whatnot, they have signage and it's all over our website that those vehicles are also not allowed to be in. They'd be treated like any person on an e-bike.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to our traffic task force report. The first item on that is gates and signage. Cliff?
I think Tom will have a much more interesting report on the traffic piece, but I did just want to say that the gates and the signage do tend to want to be subjected to the improvements that are going to be made to traffic, and primarily the traffic circle. So as Tom gives his update, you just know that, once we start to gain traction on some design options for traffic improvements, then the gate will sort of follow and coordinate and dovetail in with those designs from a physical standpoint. Now, I know Sam and the team have made some progress on some electronic improvements. And so, Sam, I'll let you give the group an update on those.
Sure, thank you, Cliff. We are working with some folks, particularly Kim Stearns, is helping us out. Our goal is to move forward with the ability to have electronic payment at the gates to help improve, slow down the turnarounds, fewer turnarounds, which will help improve access in, as well as just helping us to collect more revenue coming through the gate. So one of our goals for this spring is to make sure that we've gone to electronic, a cashless system. We'll still take cash, but cashless will be an option at the gate, with the goal being to improve traffic flows coming in through the gate. In addition to that, while I've got a moment, I'll mention that we are going to be adding more signage. There's been a sort of a test sign out there for a while for us. And we're gonna be adding some additional signs that have that same size, feel, and look, with a little more height, to help guide traffic into the appropriate gate, to get folks that are purchasing passes into the pass purchase lane versus the property owner or pass holder lane coming through. So those two things are being worked on right now at the gate from a choke point perspective to increase traffic coming in as we approach the season.
And I just follow that with, those are attacking two of the strategies that the task force identified. As one is getting people into the right lane using signage from a sort of a short-term solution standpoint. And then if we remember, the number two reason for turnarounds was I don't have cash. So I think the work that Sam and the team are doing are making progress on those objectives we set.
Okay. Any other questions of Cliff? Comment? All right, Tom, you want to go on into the major part of the traffic?
Yes, good morning, everyone, neighbors, and yes, I think the signs that we have, the new signs are very visible and well done. That's going to help a lot. Quickly, a little background context so we may have some new people that are listening. This traffic is flowing through that we're talking about is a Sea Pines Circle and Greenwood. The Sea Pines Circle is a state highway and also the three legs that come into it. Greenwood is a CSA road. So that, just for a context, that adds some complexity to the situation we're trying to work with in terms of different parties. I think it's very important to start out because we tend to sometimes get into solutions before we decided or defined what problems we're solving. There are three problems we're solving. The number one problem is traffic congestion going into the circle. That is where the congestion begins, of getting folks on Greenwood into the circle. The second problem is safety on Greenwood, primarily in the left-hand turns and the cuts where traffic is going through two lanes. So that's the number one or number two problem, if you will, safety on Greenwood. The third, I guess, is a problem. It's a deliverable. Is really time and urgency. This thing has gone on way too long. There's been congestion there for years, and it needs to be addressed. And principally because as we continue to wait, we're probably harming maybe the image of Sea Pines in terms of people saying through their real estate market, it takes a long time to get out of Sea Pines. You're going to have to wait at the circle. And I think that's something our community does not need to get tagged with. And secondarily, every year construction costs go up tremendously. So if we wait and wait, it's just going to cost taxpayers more money. So those are the three problems we need to solve. So how are we doing that? Well, we have moved ahead with a single engineering project. Instead of looking Greenwood at Greenwood as a separate project that CSA is doing, and Sea Pines a separate project or engineering project that the state is doing, we have worked with the state and the town to bring this into one concurrent single project. And we're calling it SITSIP, South Island Traffic Circle Improvement Project. But it basically is taking Greenwood from our gate out to the circle and the circle. And as an engineering project to be completed, they're designed and completed all at once. So we're at the stage pretty much that SCDOT is agreeing to take over the project leadership, and they will manage the design and construction of this combined project. We've been on a second child, I guess, to the corridor. Everyone's aware of that's been a pretty big issue with the county, town, and SCDOT. That's coming to a conclusion, I believe, by the end of March. So we will be able, I believe, to get a little more attention on the SITSIP project and be pushing that. Our goal that we're trying to look forward to is get this done in the next 2 years. Tom Davis is helping us tremendously. Senator Tom Davis is working to find funding. He's been a key driver in this. We appreciate his efforts, and that's where we're at. Any questions?
Questions? Comments? Thank you. This has been, this is and continues to be a long, difficult struggle with the various parties involved and the various interests involved and obviously the amounts of money and getting those funded. So we'll continue to give reports as we go along and make progress and try to keep you informed as best we can. Okay, at this point, I'm going to move to the treasurer's report. Leanne, you have 2 items on there. One is the approval. So of the 990, you want to proceed?
Yep, sure. Thank you. Good morning. So as many of you know, the IRS has a required Form 990 that must be filed on an annual basis by not-for-profit organizations. It is a 40-plus page document and is contained in the board materials. As part of good governance, the 2023 Form 990 in front of you has been detailed reviewed by myself, presented to the executive committee for review, and the executive committee recommended approval by the full board prior to filing. The Form 990 is a public document, and once it is filed electronically, it can be accessed either online or requested through the CSA office finance group. I will look to see if there are any questions or comments on the Form 990 before I ask for a vote. Are there any questions?
I'm sure everybody has read all 40 pages, Leanne, and studied it for us.
Yes. It's a long document, but it does have some really good information on it. Yeah. A lot of good questions about how the organization is run, its mission, vision, values, and also items of governance. But with that understanding, I would like to make the motion that Sea Pines Community Service Associates, Inc., Board of Directors, as recommended by the Executive Committee, approves the filing of the IRS Form 990 2023 as presented. Looking for a second.
Second.
All right, second, great roll call. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Are there any opposed? Raise your hands. Unanimous adoption.
Just a few updates. The Finance Committee met for the first time last week and had a pretty short agenda. Our meteor meetings will happen starting in March. Victoria mentioned that the year-end financial closing and audit process is underway, and our goal is to have the year-end financials finalized by early May for the annual meeting. Next month at the board meeting, executive committee meeting, and finance committee meetings, we plan to present the critical infrastructure project reporting, an update to that was presented in November, and as well as updating the 3-year rolling capital plan. Victoria presented the collections updates, which is terrific. Thank you to the entire community. And I would be remiss without saying thank you to the entire finance staff led by Victoria, because as was mentioned, this is a very busy time for the finance staff. And I would say that once we get through the year-end reporting, we then go back into other types of reporting, including the 990 for the next year. So things don't slow down very much for the finance group, and we appreciate all the efforts. So that ends my report.
Thank you. Questions? Comments? Okay. We'll move on to unfinished business. None that I know of. New business. I'm going to announce that we're going to have the annual meeting will be May 6th And the date of record will be March 10. So mark those on your calendars. The date of record, of course, means whoever is listed as a member, shows up as a member on March 10. The person that and it can attend in the annual meeting. Any questions about that? That's pretty well just a logistical thing we need to do. All right, the next item is the gate agreement. We have before you in the packet.
Remember, Mr. Burwell wanted to make a comment.
Yeah. Steve, you want to go ahead and start?
Yes, Dave, since Sea Pines Resort and the Riverstone properties are parties to the gate agreement, the 4 Sea Pines representatives will abstain from the discussion and the voting on this matter. The 4 representatives, including myself, Ray, Carrie, and Cliff, will abstain.
Thank you. Just a little explanation to the community, those that are listening. The gate agreement is an agreement or covenant that was passed on to after the bankruptcy. The party to that agreement presently are the Sea Pines Resort. One party was is no longer in existence, Sea Pines Center, that's not the official name, but they transferred and assigned their interest to an LLC that is really connected with the resort or their major owner, and then CSA. And there is a caveat to that, but basically it's a covenant, which is a private agreement, requires the signature of the parties to the agreement. As many of you know, there had been litigation on the at least the discovery of the 2018 amendment to the gate agreement. In looking at all of that, what the parties have decided, they are proposing with this new agreement is to basically do away with the 2018 amendment to the agreement. In fact, you will see a number of whereas clauses, which are really a historical recitement of the past agreement. But when you come to the part of the agreement, you will see that sections 2 through 12 of the 2018 agreement amendment are deleted in their entirety. And then there is a new section 2 of the agreement, which is that basically wipes out everything that's in the 2018 agreement, for those of you who want to follow. And the new provision in there is a daily visitor gate fee pricing for 2025 and the future. And it reads, the daily visitor gate fee shall be $9 effective February 1, 2025. All funds generated from the daily visitor gate fee shall be paid to CSA to be used by CSA in accordance with the 1988 covenants and applicable South Carolina law. There were 2 subsequent sections in the old agreement 2018, which were sections 13 and 14. They are renumbered as in this as sections basically 4 and 5, and it just states that 3 and 4, excuse me. And if you read that, this is the entire agreement. It's one of the standard paragraphs, and then there's a miscellaneous provision if there's any conflict or anything in the agreement that it will the remaining part will remain binding. Any agreement binds the parties, etc. Those are standard legal provisions. So basically, the only substantive thing in this amendment is what I read you about the daily visitor gate fee is $9 effective February 1, and all those funds will be used by CSA. Money all goes to CSA. All is to be used by CSA in accordance with the 1988 covenants and applicable South Carolina law. So that's what's before us today. The parties, other than CSA, we've been informed, have signed it and it's ready to be signed by CSA. I will entertain any questions or comments from the board on this, and then I will move the adoption first of CSA adopt and authorize the particular resolution, say resolve that Sea Pines Community Services Association, Inc. Board of Directors, as recommended by the Executive Committee, approves the SBCSA Gate Agreement 2025, which I have just presented. I will move that. I will ask for a second, and then we'll have any discussion. Bill Johnson seconds it. Is there any discussion? Okay, Don?
I'd like to make a comment that I abstained from the first vote in 2018 on that agreement, and I also will abstain from voting on this one.
Okay. And then is any other comments?
Hey, it's Bob Gossett. I will abstain also, and I think that most commercial directors have already expressed that.
Okay. Then anything else? This agreement will be published. So it's, no one's gonna have to request it. It will be published, and there will be a communication going out with the link. All in favor, raise your hands. Just count them, 1, 2. There you go.
Did we lose Mr. Caskey?
Who did we lose?
Is Tim voting with Bob?
Tim's abstaining as a commercial director,
So
so we lost Mr. Caskey.
How many we got, Tim?
7, 8 or 8.
We have how many?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7.
Counting Dave is 8.
Counting me as 8. We would need one more vote. For majority is one of you. Are we missing one of our people who was?
Mr. Caskey dropped off.
He dropped off.
He's our other director.
So we need one more vote. Is anybody willing up there that who said they were staying willing to vote so we could pass this?
Oh, stand by 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. We're not abstaining because we don't agree with it. We're just abstaining for other reasons. I think it's a good gate fee agreement, and I certainly agreed to it. But given the lawsuit and things over the past several years, as commercial directors, I think we're all just wanting to make sure that we have the blessings of our legal counsel. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay.
I would like to also say that I disagreed with the 2018, as most of the commercial board members did disagree with that one. But I don't have a problem with this one. I do not want to vote for it nor against it, so I feel comfortable abstaining.
Okay, I know you, and I know, you're accusing yourself. It's not that you're just abstaining for recusal purposes, for legal purposes.
Yes.
Tim Stearns has his hand up.
Tim has his hand up.
He can vote.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Tim, you're voting for it then, right?
I vote for it. Yes, sir.
Okay, that is a majority.
Great.
And since everybody else abstained, there is no negatives. I appreciate your position, and I understand it's a legal position, and trying to, because of the lawsuits, et cetera. I thank you for that. And with that, does anybody have any comments or anything they want to add? Steve, you want to add something?
Just 2 quick things from the resort. Earlier in the meeting, Sam mentioned our golf course restoration project at Harbortown. And I think we've been, out in the community talking about it, but just in case, somebody's not aware, the greens there at Harbortown are approaching 30 years old and they need to be replaced. It will require a 6-month closure of the golf course. So on May the 4th, we'll close the course. It'll be closed until early November. The main focus of the project is to replace all 18 greens. We'll also be replacing all the sand bunkers throughout the course. We're going to replace all of the railroad cross tie retaining walls and bulkheads throughout the course. So it's a big project for us. We've got Davis Love III, our 5-time Heritage Champion, serving as a player consultant. We've got Alan McCurrick and McCurrick Golf Construction, who's done all of our work on all 3 of our courses over the last 25 years or so. That will be doing the construction work. We have great confidence in Alan and his team. Of course, we've got John Wright, John Farrell. Kerry has weighed in on the project. We've got the PGA Tour representatives that have been up here many times and are involved in the project as well. So looking forward to a successful project. This should set the course for another 25 to 30 years, and looking forward to kicking that off. Also, I just wanted to mention that the resort's very fortunate to receive a lot of awards throughout the year. And I'm pleased today to report that we have once again received our 4-star designation from Forbes Travel Guide, who's the industry leader. We're the only resort property on Hilton Head that has the Forbes rating. And there's only 5 properties in the whole state of South Carolina that have been recognized by Forbes Travel Guide. So it's significant, and we're pleased and happy to get our 4-star rating again.
And we can't wait to get to 5-star rating.
And we're working towards our 5-star. We've got some limitations that we're working on. It's going to require some improvements that we need to make, and we are working on those. But yes, we want to hit the 5-star rating here sometime in the future.
Thank you. Any other comments before we adjourn the meeting? And then we're going to go to question and answers right afterwards. If there are no further comments, I'm going to move we adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed? Likewise, everybody ready to adjourn. We're going to go immediately into the questions that we've received. We've received a number of questions, and the first one is going to be about South Beach Pool.
First 2.
Oh, the first 2. I'm going to just read one part of the question, because one part I think maybe we need to answer. People are concerned that South Beach Pool is not open. They want us to advise the public as to the anticipated date that the pool work will begin, as well as the anticipated date of completion. And then want us to explain who owns South Beach Pool and who is responsible to complete the renovation and pay for it. And the other questions related to that is, will South Beach Pool be open by Memorial Day? Let me comment, because the question on the ownership. CSA does not own that pool. It's owned by whatever entity that, and I don't remember the entity's name, Bob Gossett, I'm going to direct this to answer the question. And CSA is not the responsible party to complete the renovation and pay for it, but the owner of the pool is. Bob, you want to go ahead and elaborate on answering those questions?
Yeah, as you said, South Beach Swimming Pool is a corporation that's owned the pool since about 1999. We agreed to keep it as basically a community amenity, subject to the conditions of an agreement we have with CSA. We've been working on, and I think Sam and Dave certainly know this, we've been working on different ideas for the pool. I think I started back in 2018 with development plans. We had more plans drawn last year, so this is not a project that just started. The pool got to the condition, as I've explained before, it's no longer serviceable. We've been in the process for several months now, getting the pool back in shape. We're actively working on it every day. And it's our goal to have the pool open late spring. We do have a website, southbeachpool.com, that keeps everyone updated. And once we get a firm opening date, we will post on that website when the date is, and we will put down the terms for access. There's been a lot of rumors online, et cetera, about the pool's not coming back. It's going to become a parking lot, et cetera. that has never been true. And I suggest that anyone who's interested go to southbeachpool.com. The only thing you'll see now is we're actively working on the pool. And we will post further information as it becomes available. It's just too early right now, given the weather and a lot of work needs to be done exactly when we'll open the pool, but we will open it as soon as we can. And we fully anticipate that work being done by late spring. So I think that should answer the questions. But again, South Beach Pool is just a corporation that bought the pool about 30 years ago. It's not run as a profit center. It is a amenity that is furnished by the community through an agreement with CSA.
Okay. Hopefully that answers the question, and people should be continuing to follow it on your website then.
That's correct.
We have a question. Will sewers ever be made for Plantation Drive? I don't know if I understand, because I think the South Island Public District at Plantation Drive is on a sewer system.
Sewer's available. We have this property owner's information, David, and I'll have Russell Fredericks reach out to them to see if we can clarify their question. But
Okay.
there is public sewer available on Plantation Drive.
Okay. We have a question concerning signage for electric bikes. And this is the one I referred to about the fellow who was hit by electric bike while pedaling his pedal bike. And where we have signage, and I think Joe Count has talked to the fact that we are going to increase signage, and we're going to try to put them up as in many places as we can, starting with the most active and busiest sites and moving on down. But this is certainly an issue that, we need to be addressed. And as I said in the meeting, this is one of the questions that I get very frequently. And the next question is also about e-bikes on the beach. Sam, do you want to respond to that?
But I know consideration for electric bikes in Sea-Pines was shut down last year. Has there been any further discussions or consideration revising the ordinance? This person lives in Sea-Pines and walk the beach daily and see electric bikes privately owned on the beach. The beach is a public area. So if you see an electric bike on the beach, we don't have any authority to regulate electric bikes on the beach. I will tell you, if you go to the beach, and some days you have to be careful, because there are electric bikes going up and down the beach right now, upwards of 25 and 30 miles an hour, and it can create a dangerous situation. So electric bikes on the beach are a concern. They're a concern for us. It's going to be a town and a state issue. And then the second part of the question is, we would consider opening up the permitting, depending on the size of the electric bike, and allowing them in Sea-Pines or specific areas. I don't think the board's ready to pick that back up and review that. But if this person has a medical need, and they're a Sea-Pines property or a Sea-Pines member, they're more than welcome to come in and sit down with us. We do have an exclusion for bike use, or inclusion for bike use for property owners that have a medical need.
Okay. We have another question concerning the Greenwood Drive Leisure Trail. Want to ask the board when it will be possible for the leisure trail to be fully resurfaced, and not just a few patches here and there from where it starts along Greenwood Drive after crossing from Lawton Stable side of the road all the way to Willow Oak. They're talking about its extremely rough surface, et cetera, and describing the condition. And we have talked to Russell Fredericks, and he's confirmed that the leisure trail resurfacing will be included in the future Greenwood Drive infrastructure improvement. And that is basically when you see the leisure trails in most areas, as they do road work, as you've seen on a North Beach and South Beach Drive, as the road work was done, the leisure trails will also, being done. So that will be taken into consideration at that time. Sam, you want to add anything to that?
Just that, as Russell mentioned earlier, there is surveying is going on right now for the Greenwood Drive, that section of Greenwood Drive and those leisure trails. And once surveying is done, we'll go to engineering with the goal of being to start that project in 2026. So it is scheduled, and we are actively working on it.
The next question we have is about the Greenwood entrance gate. can you please provide an update of progress being made with regard to design, implementation of entrance signage, wayfinding, as well as gate design to facilitate traffic flow? There was a report that was given by both Tom Sharp and Cliff McMacken, and that is to the update. And Sam added that signs are in the process right now. We're looking at a greater height to produce more signage in in that along those lines. That question happens to come from somebody I know, and they see me frequently. You can ask me anytime you see me. You don't have to worry about asking the question in the board meeting. Just come and I'm happy to answer any of your questions or concerns. We have a question concerning the aesthetics near Greenwood Gate. Sam, I think you mentioned that briefly, but you want to add to it?
Yes, we're happy to do that. So the question is from the club course area going out Greenwood Drive, as you're making the left on Greenwood, we've had a loss of a lot of vegetation there because of construction recently associated with the South Island Public Service District waterline project and having to make the tie-ins. They removed a lot of vegetation around the screening vegetation around the public storage facility. And so when you're sitting at the intersection, prepared to make the left on Greenwood, the view is not a very good one. We signed a contract a couple of weeks ago, as Jared mentioned, with our landscape provider and I think he showed you the areas that we're going to do, provide additional screening. So we will be rescreening that area both on Greenwood Drive and against the fence for the landscaping area, as well as other points down Greenwood Drive, all the way through the intersection with Office Park. So those improvements will be coming shortly.
Thank you.
And one more thing, South Island Public Service District will be participating in the cost of that because they were responsible for taking that vegetation down as needed for the water line installation.
Okay, another question is one we've had numerous times. When are you going to resume public meetings for the Seapine residents? As we've answered repeatedly, we have over 5,800 members residing in 48 states and 6 countries. Our goal has been to make the equal and fair to everyone. The only thing a person is not allowed to do by doing meetings the way we are doing them is to be there in question and ask their questions in person. Actually, at the beginning of this meeting, and I think the maximum number of viewers that at this meeting it started at 32, moved to 35 members were watching the video. By the time another week or two will go through, we will have several hundred watch the video. And apparently it's working very well. That's a number who would actually attend the meeting. If there's any indication about who's watching the video now, if we had it in public, would be, maybe no greater, but the fact of the matter is most people are getting and attending the meeting and using the YouTube version of the video version. It's also easier for people who don't want to sit through the entire meeting and want to go to various sections because sections are bookmarked. So for the time being, there are no plans to go to a public meeting. Same thing we've said before. So hope that answers that question again. The last question we have is, what is the purpose of all the survey work along Greenwood?
I think we just answered that one as part of the repaving and engineering project. The survey work is first step, then survey, then engineering design, and actual construction.
With that, there are no further questions. I want to thank everybody, the board and the public, those of you who are going to watch this later, for watching it. And any concerns, you continue to write us, contact us with the various links we have. We are publishing more and more information. And as I said, the gate agreement will be published and you'll get a notification of it, and everybody can read the gate agreement that we just adopted today. With that, I will end the question and answer session and thank everybody for attending.